Welcome to Machine Tool Maniacs, the podcast where machining, fabrication, entrepreneurship, and bringing ideas to life collide. Around here, every story is a success story. I'm Matt, a second-generation manufacturer who's been in the shop since I was in diapers, learning the tools, the trade, and the people behind it all. Nearly everything in our daily lives is passed through a CNC machine. And we're here to spotlight the makers, turning raw material into reality. Whether you're dreaming big or building bigger, this is your inside track to making it happen. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a crew on here today, man. I got Will with us, and
Howdy ho, neighborinos.
I got David and Brendon from Machinable Innovations, hailing from Oregon. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going? I'm Brendon.
Oh yeah, I'm David.
Give us a really short synopsis of what Machinable Innovations is today.
Ooh, that's a tough one. What are we today? We are a small machine shop. We value innovation and we leverage technology for the benefit of our community, our customers, and ourselves.
Dang,
Awesome.
That's a great elevator pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we are small, but I feel like we use what's available to us, and we kind of punch above our weight a little bit.
What's your role within the organization, Brendon?
At Machinable Innovations, since we're so small, everybody kind of does a lot of different roles. So whether that's programming CNC mill or running parts, or I also do probably the majority of the paperwork associated with aerospace jobs. So QMS systems, certificates of conformance, any of the documentation required. It's kind of my main area of focus outside of just like the general machining and business stuff.
Very important.
So you mentioned QMS and certificates of conformance and whatnot. So are you guys like ISO certified, AS9100 certified, that kind of deal?
We're currently working on getting our AS9100 right now, but we're not
Nice.
currently. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
As a small shop, it's definitely an expensive certification to acquire. But if you're looking to do any kind of DoD aerospace contracts or things like that, you pretty much have to have it. We actually bid on a job once, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but basically we lost to someone that was like thousands of dollars more expensive per part
like 4
because
times.
we didn't have the AS9100 certification. So although it's expensive and kind of a very intensive process and a lot of documentation for a small shop, we are working towards it because the like aerospace contracts that the government has out there are definitely worthwhile from a business standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, before we go too deep into the current state of the shop, let's dive into each of your guys' backgrounds. Let's start with you, David. It sounds like you were in the Air Force. Tell us about your journey into the Air Force and what you learned while you were there.
Yeah, so it was 2013, and I joined the Air Force, and that was a couple years out of high school. Pretty much didn't know what I was going to be doing. Didn't have I was maybe go to college, but I really didn't want to do that. I don't do super well in school, so I well, screw it, let's join the Air Force. So did that. Actually ended up getting the exact job that I wanted, which is super rare, which was aircraft metals technology. So it's kind of a mix between welding and machining. Just kind of the general fix-it shop / important people plaque shop. So which is great because I got a lot of experience with a lot of different different creative ways to do creative things that maybe weren't necessarily like to a certain specification, but you got a lot of general knowledge making random plaques for people, as well as a lot of experience reverse engineering and just kind of figuring out how to make parts that show up broken, because for whatever reason it is very hard for the Air Force to get drawings for what the Air Force has. We would be surprised. So lots of reverse engineering and kind of just figuring stuff out.
So were these mostly aircraft components that you end up making? What is the primary responsibility of what you were fabricating?
No, I'm really glad that you asked that because yeah, you would think that okay, Air Force airplanes, but I would say probably 2/3 of what we were doing was either fixing aerospace ground equipment, fixing other people's equipment, like literally welding it back together when it would break, or making a part that they couldn't get or they couldn't get in time for, you know, the military is not known for its logistical efficiency when it comes to its supply program. So there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times where we would just make a very specific part for whatever piece of equipment it was, and fix it. We also do some welding on aircraft though, like the combustion cans they would crack, and we can weld those back together, take those back together, and then the most fun ones was when they couldn't get a billet part, and we got to reverse engineer that, or like one time I made the whole leading edge wing spar of a F-15 because it was like 3 years out. So it was like 9 feet long on a VF5. So we had to do it in like three sections with the side windows open, and uh, it was definitely a 5-axis part, but we got it done, so it was pretty fun.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome.
Did you ever go to Hill Air Force Base out here in Utah?
No, never made it over to Hill.
Oh, okay. They have quite a bit of machining on this base here, and we have a whole fleet of F-35s right now. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I heard they have some pretty cool stuff at that base.
Yep. If I would say if we're lucky, but it's probably more if we're unlucky. During the podcast, you may hear some of them flying over my house.
Oh, right on. It's been a while since I heard a fighter jet take off. So that's kind of cool.
Well, you'll hear them fly over Will's house first, and then about 5 minutes later, you'll hear them fly over my house because they headed out over the Great Salt Lake, and basically right on the other side of the Great Salt Lake, they do a bunch of training out there.
Dugway Proving Grounds. Been blowing stuff up out there since like the 1930s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no man's land out there.
Brendon, if you don't mind me asking, what's some of your background? How did you get into machining?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I was always kind of interested in mechanical systems. I did the classic Legos, fascination, and all that. When I was a freshman in high school, I took a drafting class, and then I basically took the continuations of that class all the way through senior year, and ended up like TAing in that class as well. Um, so first year it was like all like hand drawing, like 2D drawings with a pencil, like classical drafting, and then we got into AutoCAD and Inventor and did some 3D modeling and some 3D printing, things like that. That's kind of what initially led me towards a job. I knew I liked making stuff, but I wasn't super sure like what route I wanted to go. Um, and eventually, I kind of thought I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, but I'd taken some calculus classes already, and the math element was definitely difficult for me. So I ended up finding something kind of adjacent. It's a outdoor product design, is what the degree is called. It's out
That's
of
cool.
yeah, it's out of OSU Cascades, and it's pretty multidisciplinary. So some people are focusing on like jackets and backpacks and making them, and then there's also like hard goods, uh, people designing racks for vehicles, things like that. And along with the design, the degree has tons and tons of business classes, marketing, sales. It's basically kind of a degree in entrepreneurship in an odd way. But towards the end of that, I had to do an internship, and a lot of the options the school had for internships, they basically have partnerships with some companies. I wasn't super interested in the options. I could have done an internship at a water bottle company doing marketing, but wasn't really what I was looking for. So I kind of went around and I found David's shop, and asked if I could be an intern, and basically he allowed me to do that, even though I didn't have much relevant experience in the machining world, and kind of picked it up from there. Um, Learned a ton under David. He has a
Very
lot of
quickly.
really he has a lot of super good experience, and um, after I've kind of gotten the hang of things, I think like I got a really interesting, in-depth kind of crash course in machining. The first day, I think the way covers were off the Kitamura, and I was learning about the ball screws and not something that I think typically people are learning about machining on day one. So I got thrown into it, but I learned a lot of really interesting stuff super quickly.
He later told me that he was thinking like, wow, I don't know if I really want to be doing this. That was kind of weird. I don't know if I want to do that for a job on the first day. But then he's like, the second day was like a lot better, so it worked out.
One quick way to get initiated into this industry is to get stuck managing an old piece of equipment. You learn a lot of things real quick. What you can
Yes.
and can't do. You learn about backlash and how to manage backlash on old machines. It will teach you things very fast.
Yeah, I
Whether you
remember
want to learn them or
early.
not.
Yeah, early on, I remember I was vacuuming out the Kitamura and basically had no real idea how these machines worked. And I had seen David put it into handle mode um, to jog the machine around. So he left to go to the gas station, and I was like vacuuming the machine out, and I was like, oh, I know I can put it in handle mode and I can move the axis, but I turned the dial the wrong way and over traveled it, and it just started hissing at me. It was like blowing air out, and I was like, "Oh, I completely broke the machine. Like I have no idea what's wrong, and I don't know how to fix it." And I just kept vacuuming until he got
He
back.
just
I
kept,
didn't know what
like,
to
he
do.
doesn't know the thing's gonna kill him, and he just keeps vacuuming the thing out. I come
Did
back
you
and he's like panic cleaning it. I'm like, dude, it's okay.
Yeah.
did you
That's
break an
awesome.
airline or something? What happened?
No, on that machine, for whatever reason, if you over travel it or if you change modes when the tool is like not in the spindle or do a couple different things, it decides it needs to engage its through spindle air. So I don't really know why it did that, but that's
Oh,
what
the
it did.
purge. Huh.
So
Yeah,
it,
it was just hissing at me, and I was like, I ruined this guy's machine. He's gonna fire me. Like I shouldn't have touched it. Like blah blah blah. Yeah, it was quite a stressful. That was probably like my first week on the job.
Huh.
But yeah.
Well, let's go, now that we brought up this Kitamura, let's go to the beginnings of machinable innovations. Tell us how this business, once you got out of the Air Force and you were kind of looking for something to do, how you came to start this shop, David.
okay. Yeah. So I feel like I'm a pretty determined person, and I decided in the Air Force, like, I'm going to start a machine shop. But I had never worked at like a machine shop for like a commercial one besides the Air Force, and I had no idea what I was doing in business, and I had no money, and
Great
so
combo.
yeah, but I was gonna do it, so we needed to figure that out. So I pretty much got out of the Air Force and came back, and I essentially kind of started a welding shop in my buddy's garage. I bought a $800 Yes welder from China, TIG welder, and he had a MIG welder, ArcLight Dynamics plasma table.
Okay.
With all the money I had, so got that stuff going. Did a lot of weird random welding projects. People would bring their excavator bucket that got cracked, and I'd weld it back together. That was the first time I ever made like over like $500 doing something, and I just remember that particular one. I was so stoked because I was like, $500 this is crazy in one day. That's awesome. But that's with no overhead. Anyways, so did a bunch of that, got in pretty tight with this local place called Spoken Moto. They don't do it anymore, but they used to be a coffee shop motorcycle customization combination shop, which was kind of weird and cool.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
cool.
the coffee kept the lights on, and the motorcycles made it more difficult to keep the lights on in that business. But it was sick though. I got to build lots of cool stuff and do lots of custom, forming and welding on all these cool bikes. So that was kind of cool. But then, while I was doing all that stuff, a company called Energy Nearing reached out. And this is my buddy from high school, Keegan, who's since worked his way up pretty high in that company. He called me and he's like, "Hey, do you want a tap drill center?" I was like, "Yeah, I would like a tap drill center." So went out there, got it all ready to ship, and they were nice enough to bring it over. And this is like a little Kitamura, but oh my gosh, it was heavy. It, like, for the machine, it's like a 10,000-pound machine with 20 inches of X, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a dense little thing, all box way. So get that in there. It's broken because they somehow came to the conclusion that the RS-232 drip feed wasn't working, so they reset it fully deleted everything on it, PMC parameters and the parameters and everything. So,
oh man,
that's rough.
It was rough. And so, but I'd never touched a FANUC control, and this was an OM control from 1993. So this was like a crash course in getting this thing running. But I really wanted to have a machine shop, so we had to do it. Me and my buddy Gabe, who was working for me at the time, we went through, and we didn't know about the whole thing where you can like feed parameters in from not in the machine. So we went ahead and just hand jammed every single parameter into the parameters, the normal parameters, and then double check that like 10 times, which took forever, like a month. And that's kind of all we did. And then on that machine, you might know about this, Will, I'm not sure, but on that machine, the PMC parameters, the PMC of that machine is, from my understanding, virtually mapped to the e-stop in a really weird way. So the PMC side of the machine doesn't ever actually see that the e-stop is pressed, but in order to input PMC parameters, it needs for the e-stop to be pressed, which it can't see. So we would just enter the parameter, hit enter, and it would just disappear every single time. And we spent weeks.
That's maddening.
Oh my God. Yeah, we spent weeks calling Kitamura, and Kitamura was like, "Oh, that's FANUC." We call FANUC. FANUC's like, "Oh, well, that's Kitamura." So then we go back and forth for weeks until we finally get the old dude at FANUC. We finally figure out a way they'd let us talk to somebody. We probably just bugged them enough until they wanted us to go away. And apparently you have to unplug the M1 cable from the IO board, and that is where it sees the e-stop line, and that breaks the e-stop line. So you unplug that so that it allows the PMC side to see that the e-stop is, well, it's not seeing the e-stop suppressed, it's physically disconnected. And then the whole machine freaks out in a bunch of other ways, but it does allow you to input the PMC parameters, which we then did because we had a hard copy. And yeah, after that, we got it running. The tool changer was all messed up, so we had some more stuff to do, but then it was alive. So yeah, that's kind of the story of the Kitamura, and that led us to be able to start transitioning from more of a fab shop and more into a machine shop.
That's really cool. To backtrack a little bit, I'm just sitting here picturing this motorcycle shop just being like a dingy old shop, and all they have is just a coffee pot and one of those old school like bun coffee pots, and they're like, "Yeah, you want some coffee here?" They just pour it.
Well, they had like $50,000 of espresso machines, and it was a weird spot. It was very fancy. It was a very hipstery kind of spot, I guess.
I don't know. It sounds pretty cool though. I'm sitting here like, man, that'd be kind of fun to do, like maybe with a machine shop or hot rods.
When I was in college, I would do homework there sometimes, actually. So kind of funny.
and they were actually like building bikes in the back or something, like behind a glass window or something.
No, you could just go over there and hurt yourself if you wanted.
There were like toolboxes in the coffee shop.
This is much of a hipstery thing. It sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. It's like, I want to go there.
Yeah, the owner I've become friends with a little bit, and he's a super good lawyer, so he wasn't super worried about it, I guess.
A lawyer that started a coffee shop where they build custom motorcycles.
Yeah, him and then also one of the bigger developers in Central Oregon. Yeah, both of them started.
Wow.
Weird thing. Love it. It was cool. I forgot to tell you it's a bar too.
Oh man, even better.
Yeah.
At some point, did you find yourself phasing more into machining and less out of the welding projects? How did that transition work for your company?
Yeah, absolutely. We would use the machine to make motorcycle stuff and other random little things like mill people's wheels out and stuff, like stuff like that. Little jobs here and there. But then a guy emailed me called Jay. His name was Jay, and he owns a company called J Lock, and he wanted to develop a way to lock one-up racks so that the little arms that hold the wheels cannot be pulled down unless you unlock this. So we designed a lever that has a pin that locks it, so you can't pull it up to release the bike. So we developed that for him, and he was like, "Yeah, make thousands." And we were like, "Bet, let's do it." So we just started making those, and then doing the welding stuff in tandem, which is not a great workflow, but the levers didn't need to be very precise. And I mean, we were making so many of them. We got the cycle time where we were pulling. I think we were pulling a finished lever off every like 5 minutes off the machine. Like
Wow.
we were cranking these things out. But yeah, I just got way too into it, and I wasn't charging nearly enough either. But that kind of led us to we were getting them anodized, and then the owner of the Anospot also needed a lot of machine work, and then it kind of just went from there. We just
Snowballed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just snowballed, and I actually remember the job where it kind of clicked for me, because I was bidding out this handrail job, and the welding side was not making money. It was not making a lot, but it wasn't like losing money by any means. So it's like definitely a viable path for the business to go. But I just remember I was quoting out this job, and then I was just thinking about how long it was going to take me to do that job, and how much I didn't want to do that job because handrailing is terrible. And like I was like, I think I had already quoted it and everything, and then I was like, I think I just need to reach out to this person and say I can't do this job, and give them a reference to someone who specializes in that. And yeah, so I did, and they were fortunately very nice about it. And that was kind of like the last welding fab thing where we kind of washed our hands of that side of the industry.
Nowadays, when a customer comes in and asks for welding stuff, we act a little dodgy. We're like, "Oh, well, we might have welders." Like, I don't know.
We hide it. We hide it behind the bar feeder. We had
Yeah,
the
they're all
bar.
tucked in a corner so no one sees them.
It's that thing collecting dust back there. I don't
I
even know if
see
it
it.
works.
It's right there.
It's out of gas. Sorry, can't do it. You gotta. I mean, it's still handy to have a little MIG welder, every once in a while.
Oh, for sure. I could see though, I mean, unless you really dig in and start getting automation with your welding, there's just not really a lot of escaping the manual work that it takes to do welding.
The barrier to entry for welding is an angle grinder and a welder. So it's like, you're in competition with so many more people, and it's so much easier to get into that. I mean, a lot of times people don't really care if the work is that good. Like, they want it done as cheaply as possible. And I've never been the kind of guy who will sacrifice my quality regardless of what the cost is. So I was spending a lot of time doing good work for not nearly enough money. So it's kind of a brutal industry for automation reasons and just like competition reasons.
That's a good point. I've never even really fully thought about that. But
Yeah, I mean, the only really good paying welding that you can do is if you're getting into high end aerospace welding, and there's not much of that happens.
No.
So I can totally see why you'd be leaning much more toward the machining side and stepping away from the welding.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot cleaner.
So in this transition from welding to doing more machining, it sounds like you never really had to do a whole lot of marketing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I mean, my wife actually made us like a pretty good website. So I think, and no machine shops have good websites. I think that's why Brendon actually wanted to be.
Yeah. So
So
actually, since we're back to that, I feel like I should provide some more context. About a year before I went in to ask for an internship, um, I was working at a bar and I was just like beyond fed up. I was like, I have no purpose. Like I need to do something that like seems more valuable than getting people hammered.
Not the motorcycle bar?
Not the motorcycle. Well, we did have some motorcycles in the bar I worked in.
Dang,
Um, yeah, I guess it's a thing in Bend. I don't know what to say.
must
Um,
be.
but yeah, so I basically went on Google and searched like engineering, manufacturing, 3D, and just made a list of, I think I had like 60 different businesses in Bend and Redmond. And I just went on this spree. I like went and printed out like a stack of resumes and just like walked into these places underqualified. And one of the spots I was really excited about though was Machinable Innovations because they had a website with pictures and I was like, oh, they do 3D printing and welding and it looks like they have some kind of machining thing where they're making metal parts and like it really stood out to me out of all the different places. And when I went in there the first time, basically, David was like, "I'm too small. I don't like have a spot for an employee right now." That kind of thing. But then a year later, when I needed an internship, uh, he was starting to grow, and it was a good
interns are
opportunity to bring.
pretty cheap.
Yeah, I remember David actually was like, "So am I supposed to like pay you?" And I was like, "Well,
That's
you
funny.
can or like or not. Like it's kind of up to you." Like,
I'll pay you with college credit.
yeah, I was like, "I need this regardless of if you pay me or not." So it's kind of your call and we met on a pretty good agreement there and it all worked out. But yeah.
I'll say he has gotten a raise since then. Just
Well,
so
that's good to hear. So you had a website and you were
word of mouth in it. Besides that, I think the website helped. Just having a nice website, actually, I would recommend that to anybody starting something or if they have something smaller. I would say if you're already really established. Obviously, don't listen to me. But like if you're trying to get more work, having a good website just is a crazy big deal. It just makes you look more reputable. Having Google reviews, like just look like a real business, and that puts people's mind at ease, especially people who don't understand this industry at all. But they need something made. They're gonna be like, oh, this place is legit, or I don't know. It's really important. But beyond that, terrible at social media, so I wouldn't count that as any kind of marketing. And yeah, I think a word of mouth. I did grow up here, so I have some connections with just people and just spreading the word about what we do, and that's that's kind of a big part of it.
what
One
were
of
some of your biggest challenges breaking into the machine shop side?
well, one of the challenges early on was old machine. It was surprisingly good. I mean, it's a box wave machine with it had the Gibbs with that plastic stuff on it. I forgot what it's called.
Turkite or
Turkite.
Tersite.
Yeah. So I had that. So they had these little like screw deals, and the owner's manual said adjust them, and that you can't adjust. I mean, you can, but you do it with a lathe. So you just have to turn them down until the thing slides correctly. It just pushes. The more you turn it down, the more it pushes in the gib. So we got those tuned up. We got our backlash as good as we could. We didn't have any like pitch air comp or anything, so we were doing kind of weird stuff, changing backlash differently on different parts of the table, kind of doing poor man's pitch air comp. But yeah, we were doing that, and I was like, and fixing it all the time, like all the time, just like little things would break. It had like 4 or 5 separate hydraulic systems on it. It was really a complicated machine. But yeah, so just like constantly fixing it. And I looked at it, I was like, what's my payment on like $100,000 machine? Like it was like, it's way less than the amount of time I'm spending fixing this. So I was, did some research and kind of decided that I wanted to go with DN Solutions, or formerly Doosan. And then, like, I swear to God, a week after that, the salesman shows up at my shop, and I was like, "You have an easy job, sir." But so yeah, that was that was definitely a big challenge, and I think we overcame it by investing in nicer equipment.
That is, I think that's a conundrum that almost everybody who starts a machine shop is going to find themselves in at some point, is when is that point where I am having to put more time and energy into maintaining this used piece of equipment, and risk, if this thing goes down and I make my customers mad, I risk losing these important jobs to me.
Huge.
And so that's a really big turning point for a lot of small shop owners such as yourself that have to make that decision, because it's not an easy decision to make, because now you got to make more money. Quick pit stop. If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe and drop a rating. It helps more machinists and makers find us. Tell a friend. Tell your crew. Tell the guy running the second shift. Follow me along on social media at machine_tool_maniac for thoughts, updates, and some funny memes. We're growing this community with more guests, more value, and more stories that push people to create. So if you've got a niche product getting manufactured, or a shop with a cool story, email me at machinetoolmaniac@gmail.com, or check out the website machinetoolmaniac.com for merch. All right, back to the episode. You said you had some challenges early on, kind of getting a rhythm and figuring out how to actually make money as a shop. Care to elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess this was before I decided to buy the new machine, which I probably should have decided to do earlier, but at any rate, I'm making these parts for like motorcycles and stuff. And like, I don't even know what I was actually charging per hour. Not anywhere near what a machine shop charges per hour. And I'm like, what, like, how do, and I know what parts cost, like, how are people charging that much for these parts to like afford to have a new machine, and or like to get this equipment, because it's expensive. And it took me a while for me to realize that they're not using as much time to make each part, because it's not just the cycle time, it's how many hours did you spend fixing the air over oil lubrication system for the spindle bearings. Okay, there's 8 hours that I spent making a new one of those, because you can't buy them. So that was 8 hours, and then I spent 3 hours on the job, so I charged them 3 hours, but it really took me 11 or whatever. So that's kind of, it's like almost like a fallacy of like, you just don't see the time that you're spending, and probably get the idea. It's like not knowing about all the other things you're doing that actually go into making the part, and how much more efficiently you can do that with the right equipment.
With a piece of equipment that just makes the part, rather than asks for 8 hours of service before it makes a part each 100%. Time.
That's a huge thing that is, I don't know why it wasn't obvious at the time. And I don't know why it was so scary. Like, getting the loan for that machine, like, was so scary. I remember that first one, but it's like, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's like,
well, it's a lot of money. I mean, even $100,000, which is on the low end for a new CNC machine, is not small potatoes.
No, it is at the time. And that's why it was scary at the time. But looking back, it's like, oh yeah, that was a very good idea to do.
I think there's probably also an element of like committing to the business and like committing to yourself when you're all of a sudden getting a loan for $100,000 versus, you have your $800 welder and your angle grinder, and you're like, I could quit this tomorrow and go get a normal job.
Yeah.
But when you have a machine payment, all of a sudden, like, it's like, I got to do this. I can't really just walk away from it now. So,
yeah. And what I like to think about, what I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard it somewhere, and it's like, if you are starting a business, you are doing that because you think that you are going to be successful. So if you think you're going to be successful, bet on your own success. Like, invest in yourself. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're right, which if you see the opportunity, you probably are, then do it. Invest in your own success. And I think that will lead you to more success.
It's probably Alex Armozzi. I feel like that guy's always saying things like that. Don't even give yourself a back door or anything.
Yeah. Just do it.
I have one of his books somewhere right here.
I guess let's get a timeline of the shop and its startup, and then let's figure out when did you come into the shop, Brendon?
So I guess maybe you start with the welding and do the timeline on that, and then I can kind of
Okay. Got out of the Air Force in the very end of 2019. So started up in 2020. I mean, probably actually a really big part of what helped in the beginning, after doing a couple little welding jobs here and there out of my buddy's garage, was it was right during the start of COVID. So I bought like 7 3D printers and then I had a laser cutter, and I just started printing like thousands of face shields and selling them to like everybody, dentists mostly. Those guys were like desperate for them, so like sold like thousands of these face shields that we just laser cut out of PETG for the clear part, and then 3D printed PETG for the like thing that goes around your forehead. So that kind of gave us a little bit of actual money. That's the first time we were probably ever making any money. Sold those to like the city and all kinds of places. That happened around that same time. I actually met an engineer at Spoken Moto, and we actually co-founded another business called Add Dimension. And our whole idea was we were going to go after SBIR funding for additive manufacturing development. So I still had a lot of time on my hands at that point because I wasn't like overly busy with welding. We just built this really big 3D printer, and that was a really fun project. Like, it was like, it could print a meter by a meter by a meter, or a meter by a meter by 750 millimeters. And then our whole idea was we were going to do like robotic part insertion during the print. So we're asking the government for like $250,000 to like develop that, which that never ended up going anywhere. And now I have a semi-trailer with a really big 3D printer in it. But yeah, so we did that, and that didn't really make any money, but I think it was a really good experience. And he was very smart. He was, he after he left here, I think he did his PhD, and he's a very intelligent guy. And I learned a lot from him, a lot about how government stuff works and how to make a 3D printer and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that didn't really end up going anywhere. And I was still in my buddy's garage doing welding stuff. But then the Kitamura thing came up, where like, okay, I want that, but I can't bring that to my buddy's garage. So that ended up, it just worked out. So I'm super lucky, by the way, because the whole reason that they were wanting to get rid of this Kitamura is because they were buying this dude's shop who did automotive machining. They were buying him and hiring him to work there because they make engines to make power from methane from dumps. So they needed someone to work on the engines. So, but they needed the space for all that equipment that they were buying. I just so happened to find myself in the position where I needed a shop to rent. So we did this whole little switcheroo where they bought him, he went over there, they gave me the machine, and I moved into the shop that he was in.
Oh, so wow.
it worked out just, it worked out so perfect. And
it's all that good karma you racked up from saving those chickens.
I don't remember if I'd saved the chickens yet.
So, well,
you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Time is irrelevant when it comes to karma. No, I was scrolling through your social media, and I saw a post where somebody had dumped a bunch of roosters in somewhere in the mountains or something to they were going to cook to death basically in the sun and become dehydrated, and you saved them. And next thing you know, you got a whole video of a bunch of roosters inside your Subaru.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
He's truly a humanitarian.
Or would this be a chickentarian?
Probably.
Well, he ate them, so.
Yeah, I did kill them and eat them, but save them from a terrible death and
Humanely.
humanely.
You just
Exactly.
sped up the process.
Yeah, and
Got
then
to
you got
fatten them up a little first.
exactly. They were delicious. That was the best chicken I've ever had. Was whatever type of rooster that was. It was amazing. It tastes like steak. It was weird.
It's a beef rooster.
Yeah, I swear to God, it was delicious. But
Anyway, so you got this shop. Is this the shop you're still in today?
yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely not the biggest spot ever.
I've
We
seen
have,
some pictures though from the outside. Did you redo it, or was it already like that? It looks pretty nice.
It was already like that. Yeah, it's kind of the owner of all these buildings that are kind of on the street went with kind of like a Western theme. So like we're in the church and our neighbor's the saloon, and I don't know. It's kind of cute.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
like white and like board and batten, isn't it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we have put a sign up, and I mean it's a nice building. It's just we're doing this out of like 1,200 square feet, so it's tight.
That's all right.
Very,
Nothing
very
wrong
tight.
with that.
No, yeah, I'd like to say we have a high capability to square footage ratio.
Good. It sounds like you had the Kinemura when Brendon come in. Did you also have the Doosan at that point, or did you get that
No,
after Brendon?
that was after.
You had the Kitamura for a couple years. I popped in the one time to see if he was hiring. He wasn't. They had the Kitamura. I kind of like got to check out the shop a little bit and everything. And then like a year later, I came back around. That's when I started my internship. And then I think it was almost 2 months, 3 months into me starting working there. The Doosan DN arrived. The DN
Yeah, it's
arrived.
because it didn't take that long for you to understand why I was so
Yeah.
stoked about my pallet jack.
Yeah, right when I started, David, had this crazy shop with all this electronics and 3D printers and a CNC mill and all these manual machines, and he was so excited to show me this pallet jack, and I was like, I didn't know him at the time, and I was like, this seems really weird, but like whatever, like maybe it's just a weird dude. Um, but then we got the new machine and we had to move the Kitamura and this machine around a bunch. And it's like I don't know, it's like an 11,000 pound capacity pallet jack or something like that. And I
That's
was
a
like,
serious pallet
oh,
jack.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
dude,
it
it's
all
great.
made sense to me. Like for a month, I was like, this dude's really weird. He likes this pallet jack like way too much. But
Yeah, well,
then
I
I
like it enough because
understood.
I dropped that Kitamura one time. It was not good.
Oh,
Not
jeez.
with the pallet jack though.
Ooh.
So
Yeah,
Do you,
but shortly after I started, basically the DN mill arrived, and then what about a year and a half after I'd started, got the oh well, I guess there's the Kia lathe as well. You should probably
yeah, and the Enshu.
yes.
oh man, okay. Well, tell us about the Kia and the Enshu.
We got the Enshu first.
Was
So
that a
it's a
mill?
really technically it's a gantry style. The table does not move. The X and Y, it's just a bridge, a tiny, teeny, tiny little bridge mill with XY is the same as a sheet of paper, right? And it like tool changes in this like umbrella thing that's in the back of it, and it's weird, but it was like $600. One was free. I got actually two of them. One was free, and one was $600. So I got those.
That sounds really cool.
It was kind of cool. Got those, and I mean, it paid itself off the first time I used it, so that was cool. Wasn't the best machine ever, but it had a tool changer. It was kind of weird. It would not. I drip fed everything from like a little DNC Titan thing, and it would not accept tool change commands unless they came from memory. So I had to make a custom post processor. Well, I could modify a post processor pretty heavily, so it output sub programs and make each tool have its own sub program that got called to like switch the tool because it had this really weird macro thing that it ran called Tomato Mini. I don't know. It seriously said Tomato Mini on the screen is what it was doing. I don't really know how that worked, but it didn't accept tool change commands from outside the machine. So
Was
that
it
was
a
a whole.
Fanuc on that?
Yeah, it was an OM. It was an OM,
Really?
but they had a whole graphical interface thing, and I don't know how that works at all. Interesting little mill, not rigid at all. About 5,000 pounds. It was like a bucket kind of. It's very strange, but we got that, and it was just nice to have another spindle for doing mostly like drilling, not a ton of milling because it wasn't rigid, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that point that we were also doing a ton of lathe parts on the mill. Not like using it like a lathe, not like putting the part in the spindle, but like making round stuff that should totally be on the lathe. And then if the bore or whatever needed to be super round, we couldn't make it round to better than like 8/10 unless we really messed with it. So we were doing stuff like putting it on the manual lathe to finish a bore out and doing weird stuff like that. Also, the spindle was getting pretty bad on the Kitamura. The spindle bearings were going out. Time for a lathe. Found a used Kia 21 LMS, which is no Y-axis, but sub-spindle live tool with a 2 5/8 through bore, had a bar feeder. It was a 2005.
That's a good little setup.
Yeah, it was. I hated it. It was a terrible machine. Like in theory, it sounded great, and that's why I bought it. But like, I don't know what they were doing in 2005, but they were doing some weird stuff, and like, it was just you needed to be in different modes for different things. I to this day do not know how to make it rigid tap in the main spindle unless it's left-hand thread. Like weird stuff like that. Our first big customer, I was like, hey, we can make better parts, but we need this machine. Do you think you'd maybe loan us the money? And he literally just wired them 30 grand for the thing I didn't sign anything like at all. Like we're going to like pay him, understanding that we're going to pay him back. But like, I was like,
well, and we even brought up like, do you want to do like a contract of some kind?
Yeah.
Because we'll pay you back as like we can give you discounts on parts or pay you cash, whatever. And our customer was like, no, it's good. We're just like, okay.
They just trust you.
They just floated 30 grand and parked the machine in our shop. So.
It's because they saw that you saved those chickens. I'm telling you.
Back to the chickens. I don't know. I was, obviously very thankful.
This is that luck thing that David has that we've talked about a little bit.
Yeah, it's good, man.
It's like with all the free machines or $600 machines,
Yeah. Well, and the Kia was my introduction to CNC lathe and also ruined CNC lathe for me.
Yeah, tell them about one trying to kill you.
Which time?
the X-axis drop time.
Oh, yeah. So one time, I can't even remember the context, but we had to e-stop the machine, and we e-stopped it, and then when we un-e-stopped it, the X value on the control was kind of like jittering, and we looked in the machine and the whole turret slid down the X-axis. The brake didn't engage or something happened. So when you un-e-stopped it, it just completely slid down.
Yeah, and if you were doing something in there or had something set up, it would have just crushed it.
So I immediately did not trust it.
That's good thinking on your part.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this thing's trying to hurt me. Another time, I can't even remember what I was trying to do, but I put it in MDI mode and somehow spindle synchronization was on.
Oh, yeah.
But because the main spindle was at 0 RPM, the sub spindle was trying to match 0, but it couldn't. So then it spun one way, and then the main spindle matched, and then it went the other way, and they were clockwise and counterclockwise, trying to match each other, and
just going full beans ahead, back and forth between their max RPMs, and just
yeah, and this was when I was doing setup for a job and did not even think spindles were going to turn on. So I was like, yep, no, I'm good. I don't want to do the CNC lathe thing. It's a little traumatizing.
There's a lot going on in lathes. I mean, it's especially once you start adding secondary spindles and forget about it. The second you add another turret, it just, I mean, there's just so much going on, and those controls have to keep track of all those separate processes. And like you say, they have to know to synchronize the two spindles. And I don't think everybody realizes how much starts being handled by those controls once you start leveling up those lathes. But it gets deep.
Yeah, and safety interlocks are just managing all of that to where it works, but it doesn't break is kind of rough sometimes.
Yeah, and oftentimes lathes are very code hungry once you start adding in second spindles and lower turrets, and you got sync codes and everything. Just all your I's need to be dotted and your T's need to be crossed to make sure everything's functioning the way you want it to. And it
Yes.
keeping track of that stuff, and it becomes very difficult to find posts that can manage that. So oftentimes you have to be kind of a whiz at knowing what you're looking at code wise to be able to keep those things straightened out.
This is probably not the right time, but I definitely don't want to leave without talking about this because this has been a game changer for us.
Sure.
Is AI codecs.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. I didn't use it on the Kia because it wasn't really a thing yet, but I did, we'll skip ahead. I got a new lathe and the post processor is, it was pretty good, but it wasn't quite there. And I went in, modified the M codes I needed to modify, blah, blah, blah. But that's pretty much all I can do. But codecs from OpenAI, it's like ChatGPT. I gave it the post and I was like, make it do this. I just talked in the prompt and then it sat there, thought for like 2 minutes and then boom, I posted out and then the lathe could do that. It was for like, there was no way for me to like use on this lathe. There was no way for me to use the X and Y axes to mill on the face of a part instead of using polar interpolation. So I wanted to just only polar interpolate and not use X, Y. And I wanted to do something in X and Y. And then I was like, make it do that. And it was like, boom, now it does it. And there's a little selector thing you can press. And if you put this into a comment on Fusion, then it will do it. And then you can undo it with this comment. And I was like, oh my gosh, that took 5 minutes.
So it edited your whole post?
But yeah, it edited the whole post. I don't even know what it did. It spit out a post. And I just kept doing that for like, I was here till like, I got so excited. I was here till like 11 o'clock at night, just like messing with this codecs thing. And I have my post processor for my lathe so dialed now that I can adjust anything that I want. It is amazing. So if anyone's listening to this and they're dealing with post problems, get codecs, give OpenAI their $20 a month. So it's good. And put your post in it and tell it what you want it to do. It's phenomenal. It's crazy.
And
game changer.
And basically, Codex is a plugin for VS Code, which is like a coding application. And it just works better than ChatGPT because it directly can access and modify the code instead of like copy and pasting back and forth. It's awesome. We're not sponsored by them. I wish we were, but
yeah,
if
you're listening to OpenAI, feel free to sponsor us.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I've done some pretty funky stuff with a fourth axis post for the DN using Codex. And then also we've done some single point broaching in a mill using like spindle orient, and all the post processor modifications for that have been way simpler to do with AI.
Yeah, that's one of those, we sit back and we're talking about where to use AI and how AI is going to be integrated into our industry. And a lot of people think, oh, AI, just programming, but these are the little tools that can be immensely helpful right now. Using AI to edit your post is a game changer because now you don't have to send it back to them and wait for them to respond. And if they get it wrong, then it just starts the process all over again. I've never heard of anybody using it to modify their posts, but it sounds pretty awesome.
The Kia went to my buddy's shop, actually. He's actually working here right now. Blake is kind of their CNC whiz, and he used it, and now he's got that Kia running so much better than I ever did from using Codex to modify the post. It's a very powerful tool.
Well, it sounds like one of the specialties that your shop has is reverse engineering. What commentary do you have on doing reverse engineering and figuring stuff out without prints? And I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of experience doing this when you were in the Air Force. Sounds like a lot of that carried over.
I think it's kind of a thing that a lot of shops don't really like doing and aren't particularly good at all the time. So I think it's kind of a cool niche that we found ourselves in. We reverse engineer quite a bit of aerospace parts for kind of older aircraft that they don't make parts for anymore. It's a really fun challenge, and I think we've come up with a pretty cool workflow to take a part that is either worn. A worn part, it tells a story, but it doesn't tell you everything. It's worn out. Is it supposed to be that big? Is the hole supposed to be that big? So you figure out where it's worn out, you figure out what it was doing, and at the end of the day, you're never going to be 100% sure it's going to work. But you figure out if it's worn or if it's like not a worn area, then it's like, okay, not worn, it's probably supposed to be that size. And then our common logic is if it's a inside thing, make it the exact same size or slightly bigger. And if it's an outside thing, make it the exact same size or very slightly smaller. -5/10 +0 kind of thing on all those features. So it's always a very high tolerance part at the end of the day. But if we don't have the context on what it was doing and we knew this one worked, that's what we'll do. And that normally works out well. And then just different workflows of actually getting the geometry into the computer. If it's a very complicated freeform shape that is not a very accurate, like not a turbine blade, but like, just a complicated freeform shape that needs to kind of like look the same, 3D scanning works great. And then using the point cloud and mesh data to reconstruct that surface. A lot of calipers, micrometers, stuff like that for establishing how far away holes are from each other and, figuring out where you want the datum. And then it's actually really helpful to establish kind of 2 datums and measure everything from both of them and then see where your error is. And then that will give you an inkling that you probably had a measurement error or there's something you're not noticing. But like establishing one datum and just using that one datum for the actual part, but establishing another double checker kind of datum. And then we'll also use our ferro arm to get geometries of a hole is at an angle on 2 parts. You can clamp the part down and get that geometry and then get the geometry of the other ones and figure out where those are and then put that into your CAD software. For whatever reason, for actually no reason whatsoever, Brendon was a absolute CAD machine when he came here. No, didn't really have a reason to be, but he just liked 3D modeling, I guess, and just came in with a ton of experience. I also had quite a bit of experience. We were both in Fusion, so another thing that helps a lot, we'll both do the same thing in parallel and not talk to each other and then compare what we get and then figure out where mistakes may have been made. The added benefit is there's definitely places that you can send stuff to get reverse engineered. There's definitely places where you can send stuff to get made. They don't normally talk to each other. So doing all that in-house, it just increases the likelihood that whatever we make is going to work.
So are you actually creating assemblies in CAD?
Yeah, and actually that's the best way to make sure something is going to work is if you have the more context you get about a part, which I don't know why customers really don't like giving context for their stuff. It seems like they just want you to have as little information as possible sometimes, but
yeah,
sometimes we'll be struggling with a part and then we'll find out that our customer has like the 2 parts that it mates to. And we're just like, can you drop those off?
that would be
the more context, the easier our job is, man.
And the cheaper it is for you.
Yeah.
So
what kind of quantities are you guys doing on these?
Quantities of the reverse engineering or like production quantities of
I mean, where would you say your niche as far as quantities that you typically do for, say, projects like this, or just average?
Probably like 4 a month, 4 parts a month, sometimes more parts, and they're not something we make. There's something they're gonna have injection molded and they want prints. So I mean we'll probably do like 6 a month, I'd say, reverse engineering things, and 4 of those are things that we are then going to put into production. Or at least do first articles of.
Got it.
And then production quantities range anywhere from 1, sometimes normally like 5 to 1,000.
I think speaking almost more to like our overall kind of like brand identity or like machining strategy, there's always like the classic like good, fast, cheap trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say ours is almost like we can basically do it good and fast, but it's almost never going to be cheap. Like we'll do quick. We've done some like prototype aerospace parts for a company where they needed them over like a 4-day period. We got 3D models, and 4 days later, we're handing them like 3 quantity 1 parts that they could get to the FAA. Very fast turnaround.
They were so expensive.
Yeah.
That's
so,
all right.
And our customers, especially the customers that we have stronger, like longer relationships with, I think they understand that our pricing is probably going to be higher, but our lead time and our quality of work is kind of worth the extra cost, if that makes sense.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. And it's not a hard place to be either. I think it's helpful not to try and be the cheapest and be okay with people saying no. Like that's like fine. Like you're not being rude, or you shouldn't feel bad about being expensive as long as your quality of work reflects that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my opinion. And it kind of it almost automatically filters. I mean, it does automatically filter out the kind of work that at least I don't want to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't ever want to be the cheapest guy. It just, it puts you in a bad spot. Everybody just ends up mad at you anyways for some reason. Like,
You're stealing money from us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I went easy on you. I was the cheapest guy. I'm trying to do you a favor. I'm practically losing money, and somehow I'm still the bad guy at the end.
Oh, from the customer perspective, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no price that makes the people who want it as cheap as possible happy.
No. And it's unfortunate that that's just the nature of the beast, but it is.
Yeah, and we also do an element of it almost seems like community service at the end of the day. We have some every couple months we have some random person walk in and they have like an invention idea and we'll help them develop it, like do the 3D modeling and prototyping and kind of get it to where it wants to be. And we've kind of had to cut back on it. I own my own business. For a while I was trying to like push that and like have that kind of be my main niche is product development for people that have invention ideas, but really it's a tough market to make it in because you're charging individuals and I think like most jobs it's just like I can't charge them this much, like I have to cut my own rate so heavily to make it make sense that it's tricky to do that kind of stuff even though it's fun.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and that goes into the my opening statement for the benefit of our community too, because if we are not 100% productive and not making 100% as much money as we can every single second of every single day, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with like us being a community focused organization that is here to, help people out. And that helps our reputation. And even if we're not making any money, like for a little bit, if it helps people out and just grows the manufacturing base and the need for manufacturing locally, like that's going to help us out long run and it's going to help out our community. So
there you go. That's why you're so lucky.
And the chickens.
And the chickens. Sounds like you've had a lot of equipment. Where's the shop at currently? What do you have in there?
We've got not a ton of equipment, but we've got the SVM 4100, which is our mill. And it's rock and rolling. It's been really good. And Ellison sold it to us. They've been great to work with. We have a manual mill, manual lathe, just, Bob standard, smaller manual mill, manual lathe. I picked up a surface grinder at a garage sale a little while ago. So just a little surface grinder, but that's been great to have. You just got to have a little surface grinder.
They're handy.
Yeah, super handy. We don't like do grinding jobs for people, but we'll like grind some parallels or whatever if we're having issues. Then we got some Bamboo Lab 3D printers, general metrology equipment stuff. Then our most recent addition has been a Lynx 2100 LSYB. We got a few months ago, and it's been awesome.
That's a nice little machine.
It is little, and there's a lot going on. Saying this earlier, like there's just a lot of things that like touching each other that you have to be careful. We got that new, and on the new machines, they do a pretty good job about like making it kind of hard for you to crash things into things, even though everything's close. And I pretty much only run collet chucks, which helps a lot instead of running the 3 jaws. And then we've got
running the Royal Quick Grip collet chucks.
I don't remember. They came with the Kia. They're I think on the main, I believe it is a Royal collet chuck, but the master collet, it's a S26.
Okay.
Yeah, with collet pads up to 2 5/8, which is the same as my through bore. So it's not a dead length or true length, whatever.
Dead stop.
Dead stop. It's not one of those, but on my sub I do, which is kind of the one you want to have it on if you
just for all of your finishing and stuff. So
yeah, and also because it moves forward when it like releases, so it kind of like if you are doing like substantial bar pulling, I don't really like it that much because it kind of seems like it pushes the B axis back a little bit when you do that. But but if you're parting off, then it doesn't matter. It's got live tooling and Y axis, but it's got this really cool thing that they're doing now a lot. It's got it's a 12 position turret, but it's got 12 more half positions.
Oh, it's the half positions.
Yeah, which I really like. I think it's so nice, especially on these smaller parts, because we bar feed almost everything, and like on these little parts, you can have tools right next to each other there that don't really interfere with each other. So that's kind of the trick that it does that.
It's called mid-turret index function.
Oh, okay. Mid-turret index.
Yep.
It's kind of cool. You don't have live tools on the other 12 though.
Sounds like the Kitamura's gone.
Yep, we gave the Kitamura away in the same spirit that we got it to Ben Plastics, the plastic company. So there.
And the in shoes are gone. You don't have those anymore?
Yeah, I think we sold one of the end shoes, and the other end shoe is sitting outside in the lot. So
it's being used as a bucket.
Yeah, seriously, if anyone wants it, it's probably still good. Those OM controls are rugged, so let me know.
And then the Kia is out of there.
Yep, sold the Kia to Solid Fab Works in Redmond. So that's good. I'm glad that thing's gone.
Sounds like you guys got quite an operation. Do you guys have anything you want to add in closing?
I mean, thank you for having us on, first of all.
Yes.
Really cool. It's exciting to see podcasts about machining. I know that this trade, if you want to call it that, hasn't had a very good PR campaign, so it's nice to have some people talking about it and getting it out there to the public.
100%.
Yeah, both Will and I put a lot of emphasis on trying to always find something to provide value to the industry with. We're here and the goal is to provide some sort of value. Like this whole thing you brought up about using AI to edit posts is actually, it's totally got my wheels spinning. That's pretty
I'm really
incredible.
glad you brought it up.
Speaking of AI, can I add another AI thing that we're working on right now?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So we learn a lot from failure because we fail all the time. So we try and learn from it. We had an issue with 2 sets of parts that we sent out that were as a reorder for some steel parts that needed to have a material certificate with them. And the first time we sent it out, I made a mistake and I ordered the wrong material for it. It needed to be normalized 4130, and I bought and used annealed 4130. First thing that we needed to change is in our certificate of conformance, we were updating, which this makes no sense in hindsight, but we were populating the material type in our certificate of conformance off of the drawing, which doesn't make sense. But that's what we were doing. So we're now going to update our material by using our material certification. So that's an opportunity for us to catch that problem. But then it got me thinking, I'm a human and I'm going to continue to make mistakes on this kind of stuff, and then the company that we're doing that for looked at everything that we've done for them so far and found a couple other little things, not as big as that, but just like little where we had attached the wrong cert and I sent them the right one and stuff like that, which is still super unacceptable. So I did some research and I'm not ready to roll it out yet, but I made like a fake email and I'm giving it fake information. And right now it seems to be fully able to fill out all of our paperwork and catch all the errors just by scraping our the email that I use like every, I think I've set to do it like every 2 hours. It'll just look through everything. And it's not only is it filling out all of our paperwork and doing a really good job, it's also filing every document in the customer folder under what it's like to do with. So and not only is it doing that, it's also keeping an active log of like what's going on in its own words of like what is going on day to day. So like 2 years from now, I can be like, oh, we had this issue from this, and this was a non-conformance report or whatever, or root cause analysis, whatever form it might be pointing to, so we can see exactly what happened way far in the future. And it's just doing all of that automatically, which is like a whole person's job.
So our current process is like we get an email from a customer, they have a purchase order, a technical drawing. I basically take that information and I made all these documents for like an overall job sheet, the in-process sheet, certificate of conformance, final inspection sheet, packing slip. And this was all in Google Docs and a Google Drive. And I was kind of hand filling out a template. And basically, like I'm copying and pasting the part number like 8 times throughout this documentation and the quantities. And it's all this repetitive work that I'm spending a lot of time doing. So this AI, ideally, if we get it to a good place, should automate a lot of that work. It can take a customer PO, customer technical drawing, packet it, and fill out all the documentation, and then basically we can go through and ensure that everything looks right. But it kind of automates a lot of work and allows for a double check of sorts for such a small shop. We don't have like layers of employees checking documentation to make sure that it's all filled out correctly or matching material certs. So ideally, this could be a really big time saver and help prevent failures in the process.
So is this all being done with OpenAI, or is this something that's like custom tuned for your shop, or what is it that you're
It's
using?
it's being done with it's a pretty new tool called OpenClaw.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's really easy to get and use. The hard part is doing it in a safe way. It's hard to get it to really like rein it in and like slowly roll out what it's allowed to do, and not just trust it not to do what it says it's not going to do. Like put in place like APIs that actually like the API is calling not the actual email, it's calling a thing that is copying your email, so it can't actually do anything. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that goes into using it safely, but it's very easy. And it uses whichever AI model you want it to use. It'll just go online and ask the question to that, and then it responds, and then that's how it generates the answer.
How do you think this kind of stuff is going to play into CMMC that's getting rolled out? Have you?
You said CMM?
CMMC.
That's the new Department of War, Department of Defense, cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah.
Their new protocols that they're enacting with making sure essentially all your documentation has to be
secured and locked down.
And not every shop is going down that road, so it really just depends on which direction your shop.
Yeah, so if we wanted to be ITAR or whatever moving forward, obviously we can't be sending this information. And I mean, it's kind of questionable whether you should do that depending on what your NDAs look like or whatever. So the end goal here, or at least one of them, is to actually have the model running locally here and have everything be handled and nothing leaves the building. So the only thing that would be happening is it would be looking at an email and then going into the box that runs the AI locally. You need kind of a pretty substantial setup to do that, graphics card wise, and you need like a little server pretty much. You need a lot of VRAM for the AI models to actually be able to fully upload onto and then do stuff halfway quickly. But so it is doable.
You can have all this locally on your own servers, and it doesn't even have to connect.
Exactly.
Okay, so, that's cool.
Yeah, kind of on a slight tangent. My life is a mess, and I'm trying to get my shit together. So
I'm right there with you, brother. Right there with you.
And in this continual search for organization and, I don't know, getting things together, I was messing around with something very similar. Was running a model locally on my PC at home. I have a pretty nice PC, but it's not like a data server by any means. So one model I ran was like too powerful, and my PC couldn't even like do it. It just crashed, basically. And then another model that I ran worked. I basically gave this thing like 10 documents, like 10 Word documents, and I just was like, hey, search through these documents, tell me this information that's contained in the documents. And it took like 25 minutes to search through these documents and find that. So it's not super difficult to set up an offline AI, like LLM type deal, but you do need the processing power. So for us to get something like this to work fully offline, we're going to need to invest in like some pretty significant hardware.
And to throw a number out there, it's like $6,000.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
but
I've
think
been looking at doing that same thing. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a super interesting technology, and I think, I mean, ideally, like it'd be great to shave some time off of the documentation practices and all that. But I think like David and I personally are just very interested in this technology, and
nerds.
We have like enough of a work justification to sink time into it.
Well,
Even though I-
$6,000 is a heck of a lot less than another employee. So
Yes.
This is very true. Yeah, that as well.
Not that much, in the grand scheme of things. Pretty much just working on Brendon's replacement.
I'm being automated. This is what they warned us about.
Yes.
that's the humanoid robot. You got to get one of those in the shop, then you're
Oh,
set.
that'd be cool.
Or a
They're
couple.
stealing our
I
gerbs.
think you can get one for like 25 grand now. So it's
Yeah,
starting to look reasonable.
They're coming online fast. Cool, guys.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add before we close out this episode?
We've got social media and a website, www.machinableiNV.com. You can find us on Instagram, Machinable Innovations. If you have cool parts that you want us to make, we're happy to help however we can. Yeah.
Just remember, you do it high quality and
Yeah.
fast, just not cheap.
Yeah, we can do fast and good, but we're not cheap. So
There you
Yeah.
go.
We figured out the triangle for our customers.
yeah, if you broke a screw off on a bike or something, probably don't come to us.
Unless you live in the local community. Maybe
Yes,
they'll help
yeah.
you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. We
Well,
do have
cool.
a bike trainer that has strip threads on it in the shop currently, so I can't
Yeah.
say. Anyways.
All right. Well, thanks, David and Brendon, for joining the episode. Thank you again, Will, for coming online. And till next time.
Yeah, thank you so
Everybody
much.
say
So
goodbye.
nice to meet both of you.
Thanks, guys. It's been a
Meet you
pleasure.
guys.
Yeah, have a good one.
Likewise.
Bye.